we go. Just right. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. Nice to see you, Mark. I'd like to welcome everybody to the work session, October the 5th, 2020 of the Limestone County Commission. Well, no public comments here. First off, we have Mr. Richard Martin. Richard, you mind stepping up to the mic here, please, sir?
Thank you. I'm Richard Martin with the Limestone County Community Association, a 501c3 organization. We made a boo-boo, and we didn't put in a request for any funds, and we're sorry that we didn't. We appreciate what you've done. But we're fixing to build a fort, and this fort is going to be the fort of the African-American soldiers that fought in the Civil War here. And there are going to be some VIPs that we're going to have come later on. And so we already hired an engineer. We've already hired a grant writer. So we're on the move. But during the year, if you see where you have any extra money, we would appreciate if you could help us out some. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Richard?
Hey, Richard. Where's this to be located, Mr. Martin?
I'm sorry, excuse me. It's going to be located at Trinity School, over at the old Trinity School. We're going to build a 3-foot tall wall and 1 foot wide, and we're going to put a concrete around it, and we're going to call it a Fat Man Diabetic Trail. That way we can get some money from the trail people.
Okay.
And
you put wall, you can ride up on the Shetland pony and still see over it.
yeah, okay. Right. But you can rest. If you walk so far, you'll be able to rest. And then we'd like to put a couple of cannons in, and those are $9,000 each and all like that. So okay. Those are the things we're trying to do. It will bring tourism, I promise you that.
Well, we just didn't see the request, and
it's our fault.
And I didn't know if y'all were through with the project.
No, or what, so if next year or during the year, if you see any extra, think of us, please.
Hey, Richard, do you know have you got a kind of ballpark figure for the whole thing? How much it's going to cost?
About $300,000.
Ooh, okay.
I think we were doing 5 a year. Is that right?
Yes, you were doing 5 a year. That's
5
right.
a year, I believe, was the best
Yes,
I remember.
And we'll appreciate that.
Yeah. Right, thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thanks, Richard.
Mr. David Malone, are you going to come up and speak on it, please? Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm David Malone. I'm president of the Athens Limestone Community Association. I'd like to echo part of what Richard said. We have great plans for that property there with the wall, and also we have a building there where we'd like to put in a museum to show what really went on there during the war and even after the war when it became a school property. I'd like to really thank you all for what you've done in the past. As Richard said, it was our fault that we didn't get in touch with you all before now. But I really want to thank you for what you've done in the past, and I especially thank Mr. Black. He came up a couple of years ago. People were complaining about the parking, and he helped us with the parking situation now, which really meant a great deal to us. But again, I'd just like to thank you all for what you've done, and if there's any way possible that you can see helping us, whatever you can do, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have turned that in. Anybody got any questions, Mr. Malone?
No, sir.
I know. Y'all turned it into a great facility out there. We went out there when y'all had the Christmas thing out there. Y'all have done a real good job with the old school out there.
Yes, and have you seen the plaques that have been put
Yes.
up? All right.
It does great. Y'all have done a great job with it.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Malone.
Thank you.
Chairman, we also have Mr. Jeff Woods.
All right. We have Mr. Jeff. Mr. Woods, you mind stepping up to the microphone, please, sir?
Yes, I wanted to make some comments regarding the subdivision of Lot 13, East Limestone Acres. My interest in it is that my parents own the adjacent lot, and I have their power of attorney. They're not able to come. But when they bought their lot, I think I've got the deed here, but time doesn't matter. It was back in the 90s. The deed stipulated, had a restriction covenant that, in fact, I'll just read the short, pertinent paragraph. It's understood that the above described real estate shall be used only for residential purposes, and that only one residence shall be constructed on each lot, and the residence constructed thereon shall contain obtain a minimum of 1,050 square feet of living area. This restriction shall be a covenant running with the land. And when the neighbor that was on Lot 14 sold it to my parents, he promised them, you won't have to worry about another house being built here because there is a restriction. And I've got the deed for that land says the same thing until it was sold in 2020, and that only one residence just mysteriously is removed. But if that runs with the land, it would seem to me that there should have to be some legal action instead of somebody just failing to write the information on the deed. And because running with the land means it doesn't have anything to do with the owner, it's with the land. Owners come and go, the land remains, and the restriction remains. And so we are, my family, upset and opposed to this subdivision of that land because that lot, by deed, should only have one house, one residence on it. And one other thing that I might add, or two other things actually, if by subdividing you think, well, okay, now it's two lots and each lot will have a house, that's just, to me, that's just semantical word games to defeat the purpose of the deed in the first place. And the other is that what a person might do, the original house on that property was built up a hill. The land slopes from, I don't know, 4 or 5 properties back down to the road, which my parents live on, and water runs down. We have rainy times, which we have often. Water just runs even across my parents' property, and it pools up and puddles up there. If a house is built there, whoever buys it is going to be upset. I can tell you that when they find out what it's like when the water comes. If you build up, say, with tons of dirt, that's going to force all that water to come onto my parents' property, and it already pools up. Was that my 3-minute sign?
Yeah, go ahead and finish up your sentence.
Well, that's pretty much what I wanted to say anyway, that we're opposed to it for those reasons.
Okay. All right. That would be engineering and an attorney question, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've spoken with Mr. Woods, and as far as our subdivision regulations go, we don't regulate covenants and restrictions. Those are all private issues between private property owners. So, I mean, the subdivision does meet our covenant, our requirements, and so that's why it's on the agenda. It was on the agenda for the last meeting. I pulled it off at the property owner's request because they wanted to have an opportunity to speak with their attorney as far as what their legal liability would be given that restriction being on the property. After that, the property owner and their attorney believe that it being made 2 lots will still meet that covenant. So, to me, that's something that, I mean, it's still private.
But that's beside the point on what we need to consider, right?
As far as we go, it's a matter of, and so they decided to ask us to go ahead and move forward. That's why it's back on the agenda. Because, I mean, like I said, it meets our regulation to subdivide. So, anything beyond that would be a civil matter, and it would have to be taken up between property owners. And he.
Yes, Mark had, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, they had a problem with my attention. And that's something that comes up from time to time. The county commission is not endorsed prior restrictive covenants in making subdivision determinations, just like Mark has touched on. And it would be a matter between the property owners as to the subdivision of that lot. Things beyond your subdivision regulations, it would be up to them to determine through legal action or resolution or whatever it may be between them.
All righty. Anybody else have any more questions?
The
I just want clarification. The covenant and restrictions was on a previous deed, but it was left off when the deed was
No, I can
okay.
speak to that. No, it appears, but he made reference to it in his comments that the restriction is to the number of residences and the minimum size of that residence on the lot. And what the legal position that the requesting party, I don't know the name, but that they take is that if the lot is subdivided, then, and so what was one lot is now two lots, that restriction would then apply to those two subsequent lots. So each one of those lots could then only have one residence, minimum square footage of 1,500 square feet. And he made reference to that in his comments, so I guess that's been discussed between them, because we got the same thing, I think, through their attorneys, that that's the position they were taking as to how the law would treat that. And there's not a, as far as at least what I've seen, there's not a restriction against any lot being subdivided. It's just as to the number of residences and the minimum size of that residence on each lot.
Any more discussion? All right. Do we have any more public comment? Yeah, okay. For y'all hadn't recognized, Ellen is filling in today, starting the new position as administrator, so welcome her here this morning. So we have no resolutions and orders. Under contracts, agreements, and grants, first on here, we'll approve an agreement with Wisner LLC as a consultant for a project number HSIP 4216,250 for the intersection and modification on East Limestone Road and Capshaw Road to install a roundabout pending a county attorney approval. Steve, do you have anything with that?
This is about, 5 years, 6 years?
This is the next step in trying to get that roundabout put in, so they've approved the right-of-way acquisition and set up that budget. And so Wisner LLC is going to assist, would, if y'all approve this agreement, would assist with the acquisition of that right-of-way, negotiating, and those things. So that's what this is about.
Yeah, this is a classic example of how long it takes to get something done. But the government, I mean, it just, it was pretty simple to come up with the idea and got it going really fast, and then it's been in the mud ever since. It's just been sitting there spinning, so there it is.
We are moving forward again, finally.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any more discussion with that? No more discussion. Second on here will be to approve agreement with Morrell Engineering Incorporated for providing the CE&Is and services on the project number HRRR 4220,250 for the widening, leveling, resurfacing, and traffic striping on East Ferry Road, be north of Sulphur Creek through the curve, and this is out in District 4. Commissioner Harrison, do you have anything with that?
Well, I just reiterate what Steve said. This was what done in started. First agreement was in 2018. Actually, that we started talking about it before then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the agreement that we worked on last week was 2019 and 2020. Two agreements that had to be modified last week. Those are the two that I'm most familiar with. But yeah, it's taken a lot longer than what everybody would have hoped.
And the initial estimate was $110,000. It morphed into a $340,000 project. We got it back down to what, $220,000 to $30,000. Yeah. So, anyway, we have John Merrill in his speech is down in Montgomery in his inauguration speech said we got to get government moving at the speed of business, and he is that didn't originate with him, but he mentioned that, and he's done a lot in that office to really speed up, business licenses and all the stuff that he has to deal with, and we need to figure out how to do that. I mean, it was impressive when you went out there. You had the City of Madison, City of Huntsville, District 2 and District 3 on Huntsville Browns Ferry Road. And then you conceived of it, and then work started within, what, 2 months or something?
Pretty fast.
And then you had a hiccup on it, and we we figured out there's going to be an overrun, and so you went out there in 2 hours on the side of the road with a contractor and you, and figured out how to get that under budget. And the project could have been from inception to completion in 3 months. And that's how we have got to get to that point. I mean, but now getting that with the federal hands in it and ALDOT's hands in it, if we could get that, I mean, we could go a whole lot faster. I mean, it is frustrating. I share Steve's frustration at how long these things take, how costly, how much waste is in them, and it's kind of discouraging when we try to pinch pennies and stuff, and all these federal projects and state projects it's almost like you're throwing money away.
All right. Any more discussion with it? All right, no more discussion with that. We have no budget revisions, no merchant purchases, no board appointments. Under award of bids here, which would be bid number 2730, with gas and diesel with W.H. Thomas Oil, which would be 30 cents over margin of rack, which is normal. And any discussion with that? All right, no discussion with that. Under personnel action, will to be approved to hire Kathy Sims as a part-time van driver on council and agent pending a drug screening. Any discussion with her? All righty. Next to be, second on here, will be to approve to hire James Cook as a part-time courthouse security pending a drug screening. Any discussion with him? All right, no discussion with him. Third on here will be to approve to hire Justin Smith as a deputy pending a drug screening. Any discussion with him? All righty, fourth on here be to approve to hire or to promote Stephanie Little as a title clerk in the Limestone County License Commission office. Any discussion with her? All righty, fifth on here will be to approve the two following job descriptions and update the staffing plan on both of these positions. We had mentioned this last meeting. We had sent them to Auburn for a study, and they never got them back. And the first one on here is to administrative assistant at the sheriff's office, and the other one is the director of the community relations and the grants. So any discussion with either one of those?
Yeah, Fred, was this what was asked for last year, the administrative assistant? Okay.
And
Would you describe what they're, I mean, I've read the administrative, who will she be assisting? A clerk? Okay.
we're doing replacing that job will go away altogether.
Okay, so it's not a net increase?
No.
Okay, all right.
It's just pennies on the dollar. It's just a title of job change is really all it is.
Okay.
It's no really caustic chase there. It's just replacing one position with the next one.
So it's kind of what we're doing with the
It'll be a little bit, but it won't be enough to make no difference. I mean,
well, what we're doing with
Michelle.
Michelle, okay.
Yes, it will be. And for the future, for the record here, is what we're doing is we had a plan this year, which we changed around positions in office, and Sonia's going to retire sometime this year, she says, and so when she retires, that way she'll already be ready to do the grants, and we'll have somebody on staff there all the time to do the grants at all times. So she will be there. You know, I mean, Sonia will be assisting her and helping her, training her through her last several months here, however long it is, and she will be training her to. So we'll be so if we have any question for grants or anything, Sonia will still be handling the majority of them, but she will be assisting her and training her through the year.
There's no net increase in personnel. I mean,
No net increase, but no. And actually, theoretically, when Sonia retires, that position probably will not be replaced, and her position will be absorbed right there.
I got you. Yeah.
So it's actually doing away with a part-time position to put it on a full-time position.
Okay.
All right. Any more discussion with either one of those job descriptions? All righty. So moving on, we have no merit increases, and at this point, the engineer's report, Mr. Massey.
Yes, sir, thank you. We have 4 subdivisions for your consideration. One's been discussed here this morning already, but Shaw Estates Phase 2, it's minor, so it'll be preliminary and final, creating 5 lots in District 3. It's on the south side of Snake Road, approximately 250 feet east of Ripley Road at the intersection of Snake Road. East Limestone Acres subdivision, replat of Lot 13. minor, preliminary, and final. It's taking one lot, divided it into two in District 2, southeast corner of the intersection of Macklemore Circle and Macklemore Street. Gatlin Estates, minor, preliminary, and final, 2 lots in District 2 at, this is at the address of 26579 Barksdale Road. And Maurice Cannon Estates subdivision replat of a replat of tract 1, so they're moving the property line within the previous replat. Minor, preliminary, and final affects 2 lots in District 4, 600 feet north of Airport Road and Alabama Highway 127.
All right. Anybody got any discussion for Mark or with any of the subdivisions or anything else out there? All righty. With no discussion with engineer, we'll move on to other business here. It'll be to approve to sell the following equipment on Gov Deals, which will be a Dodge Durango from the Sheriff's Office with your VIN number listed there below. Any discussion with that item? All righty. Moving on. We have no scheduled public hearing at this time. Reports of officers. Commissioner Samet.
I don't have anything at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Samet. Commissioner Turner.
I'll wait.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Black.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Black. Commissioner Harrison.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrison. And I'll just hold mine until then, too. And for that, we'll say we'll recess until 10 a.m. Thank everybody for coming today, and thank you, Mr. Woods, and thank Mr. Martin and Mr. Malone for coming, too.